Hello, and welcome to this tutorial on implementing some of the activities described in the REMS TA Center's School Behavioral Threat Assessments and Introduction Training. This tutorial will provide a brief summary of the information presented during the event. It will also give you information on how you may use the tools, resources, and continued support from the REMS TA Center to put into action what you learned from the training session. As you likely recall, the training you attended was designed to help you to describe some of the key findings from the Safe School Initiative, also known as the SSI. Understand the purpose of a school threat assessment and the role of a threat assessment team. Recognize how threats can be made online and how to identify these threats. List some effective elements of a school threat assessment and identify the 5 stages of a school threat assessment. Now that you have completed the training, we suggest a few follow-up activities you can complete to put some of the information you learned into practice. To start, you can form a group with others who attended the training. Based on what you learned, you can discuss: Number 1. What is the goal of your threat assessment approach? Is it to reduce targeted violence, self-harm, or something else? Number 2. Are there any concerning student behaviors that you may now want to pay more attention to, such as absenteeism, tardiness, or submitting incomplete assignments? Number 3. Are there any tools or resources that can be shared with the group that could help with the threat assessment? Based on these discussions, you may decide that some of your schools or school district's policies may need to be refined. We will also highlight resources for schools and school districts that can help as they create, review, or revise their threat assessment processes and protocols. In the training, an instructor described how the approach to threat assessments is based partly on findings from SSI. If you would like to learn more about why and how threat assessments can help prevent targeted violence in schools, you can read The Final Report and Findings of the Safe School Initiative: Implications for the Prevention of School Attacks in the United States. This report not only describes the study's methodology, but also provides greater details and examples of the findings and implications, such as what pre-incident behavior caused concern to others. Also, Threat Assessment in Schools, a guide to managing threatening situations and to creating safe school climates, summarizes the SSI and the threat assessment process, and provides supplemental information to the training that can further aid threat assessment teams. For example, the guide describes key components for a management strategy once the team concludes that a student has the interest, motive, and ability to mount an attack, and has started down a path toward attack. This resource also details legal considerations for developing information-sharing policies and procedures, which is a topic of interest to many training participants and threat assessment teams. The guide discusses exceptions to the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA, for threat assessment inquiries and suggests additional reading materials in the Annotated Resources section. We encourage you to compile a list of threat assessment resources, including this report and guide, along with other materials listed in the resource list of your participant manual that can be used as reference materials for your threat assessment team. In a group, you could also assign different chapters to different members to read and report out. Links to these resources on the REMS TA Center website are provided in the resource list of your participant manual. In addition, the REMS TA Center has 2 recent webinars on threat assessments. One, Forming a School Behavioral Threat Assessment Team, was highlighted in the pre-training video and captures some of the common elements of an effective threat assessment team and process. Number 2, The Use of Social Media in School Behavioral Threat Assessments, describes how social media can be used to make threats and how teams can use social media in the threat assessment process. You can view these webinars on your own to help ensure you fully understand the concepts described in the training, or you can share the resources with others who are unable to attend the training to orient them to threat assessments. Additionally, we suggest the whole threat assessment team view the webinars so that everybody is working from a common framework. Since your time is often limited, one strategy to consider is assigning a chapter or a time frame of the webinar to each member to view on their own. Then, at the start of each meeting, that team member can provide a short briefing to others on what he or she learned. That way, the whole team becomes familiar with the material, and each member becomes an expert on a particular aspect of the process. To access these webinars, visit https://rems.ed.gov/TA_webinars.aspx. In the training, you also learn the importance of integrating threat assessment processes into your school or school district's emergency preparedness framework. One way to do this is to include threat assessment protocols in the school or school district EOP. More information on creating, reviewing, or revising an EOP, as described in the school guide, is provided in several training formats by the REMS TA Center. These include a specialized training package, which includes a PowerPoint presentation, virtual trainings via an online course and a webinar, and, if you like the in-person format of the training you just attended, we have one on this topic of EOP planning too. We encourage you to review the online and downloadable trainings yourself and share them with your schools or school district's planning and threat assessment teams. You should also note any revisions that may need to be made to your school's EOP, including annexes that address targeted violence in your school, and share that information with your planning team. These trainings can be found under the Technical Assistance drop-down menu on our website in the Resources section. As you initiate next steps in developing, revising, and maintaining your school EOP and threat assessment protocols, you may also be interested in accessing our toolbox, a virtual library of tools developed by school emergency managers in the field containing resources pertinent to the needs of schools and their community partners as they engage in the process of school emergency preparedness. The toolbox contains resources such as sample threat assessment procedures and forms created by experienced practitioners. As you create or revise your own threat assessment materials or resources, we welcome any submissions for inclusion in the toolbox. You can also share your feedback, post resources, and ask follow-up questions about the training in a forum on the REMS TA Center's Community of Practice, or COP. The COP is a collaborative effort of practitioners to share ideas, experiences, and lessons learned, and engage with one another on emergency preparedness. Within the COP is a K-12 public forum on the topic of threat assessment in schools. We encourage you to join the COP and continue working with practitioners across the country in this forum. To access the COP, visit the webpage you see on your screen. This concludes our tutorial for today. If you have any questions on threat assessments, safety, security, or emergency management in schools, or any aspect of school preparedness, please do not hesitate to contact the REMS TA Center's help desk by email at info@remstacenter.org or by toll-free telephone at 1-855-781-REMS or 7367 during regular business hours Eastern Time. You can also follow @REMS TA Center on Twitter for the latest information on school emergency preparedness from our federal partners and the REMS TA Center. We wish you all the best for your future emergency preparedness efforts.